everybody? You are now tuned in to StarCHaser Central, a podcast about Charles Hamilton music, moments, and everything in between. I'm Sick Braxton.
And I am Mike D. Jackson.
Nothing else?
It could be something else if you want to. All right, well, let's start this over. I'm Mike D. Jackson, and I want to thank y'all for listening to StarCHaser Central. And if you don't like it, it's a free podcast. Go listen to something else, nigga. I don't.
It's very tame for you.
Did you get the reference?
Yeah, no, I'm aware. I appreciate the reference as well. How are you? How are you other than being Mike Jackson?
First of all, you say that like it's a bad thing, but otherwise, I'm pretty good. I'm feeling very hopeful. So, quick story. Like I was just telling you a couple minutes ago, I was doing some laundry. I was upset because on my days doing laundry, I'll do like 2 loads. One will be work clothes. Second load will be regular clothes, right? One of the shirts I had, it was a Bugs Bunny shirt that had a little bit of red on it. It was a white shirt with a little bit of red. Completely forgot. And I had it with some other white clothes. Turned two of my other shirts pink. And I'm like, of course, I probably fucked these shirts up. But luckily, they have a stain remover, and what's it called? RIT or something like that. This is not sponsored by RIT, by the way, but I watched a YouTube video about it. Get some hot water, put the clothes in there. After you put the RIT in there, shit just disappears. Shit's like white and it's washing, it's drying now. I'm getting the shit dried now, but I'm like, thank God. So I learned something new today.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we learn new skills as adults. They're rarely like super duper like fun, but they are useful. So that's good.
Yeah, so in the future, which I never normally do that type of stuff anyway, but I think about a lot of shirts I had as like a teenager, and I'm like, oh, it's pink now, it's ruined. And I wish someone would have fucking be like, no, you could fucking fix it, but
I guess you could say as we get older, we have growing pains. And just because of that, we are reviewing today Charles Hamilton Growing Pains. This was actually a fan choice that we did a couple weeks ago. You guys, the StarChasers, chose this as the album you want us to review this week. So here we are doing that for you. Mike, what is the history behind this tape?
Yeah, growing pains. Growing pains. Let me make sure I make this known. The tape is 3 words. Growing pains. The reason why I'm saying that and I'm specifying because there is a song called Growing Pains, 2 words, Growing Pains, by Charles and C. Young, and that's not what we're referring to. We're actually referring to the 2010 project. Came out August 2010, a little after the 6 projects that we normally talk about. So pretty interesting. Here's a crazy thing. Before I talk about the tape, just a reminder for anyone that wasn't aware, we're doing the fans choice thing. Majority of you guys from YouTube and Twitter voted. We didn't just go off one, we went off both. So when we do it in the future, we will do the same thing. We'll poll on YouTube and Twitter. So make sure you guys vote. And all you have to do is vote by commenting or whatever we say on there. So anyway, with this tape, it's kind of crazy because I remember when this tape came out, but there's not a lot on the internet about it. There is an interesting tagline where it says it's more than the project, but when I actually went to go Google this and see anything else about it, there's not much on here. So Charles, when you're watching this, maybe you could give us some more information about why it's titled Growing Pains, spelled like that, and also what does it mean to be more than a project? I know in one of the songs he kind of says that line in there, but there's not much online about it.
Yeah, like you said, it's very close to that July 4th pack that dropped. I knew it was 2010, couldn't remember the exact timeline, but I knew it was like similar. Because for whatever reason, I always lump this with Taffetu for some reason. They always seem very similar in, I guess, style. So I always hold those two like in a similar like category, similar regard. But yeah, it's one of those tapes where it seems like it is supposed to be more than just a regular or more than a project than some of the other tapes that he has. It feels very album-esque, and we'll get to that later. But do you remember your first time listening to this tape?
Definitely. I remember listening to the tape. It was one of those things where like the cover is pretty simple. The white background says "Grow Wing Pains" on there. So
Mm.
I'm just like, and it says it's more than a project. So I'm like, all right, definitely remember it. There's a few songs I definitely remember from here. One in particular, but when I first heard it, I was like, yeah, pretty solid tape. I like it. Speaking of that, I want to give a few shout outs because we did ask if any of you guys wanted to say anything, make any comments or questions. No one asked any questions really, but um, East Tremont said solid tape, could have been a studio album. Nick Soup said one of my favorite tapes. Same thing with Multiply, asking about the more than a project. So I just want to give y'all a shout out that hey, we've seen the comments, appreciate you. But what about you? You said your first time was
Yeah, I remember really loving this tape. I remember this was very it was just in my rotation for, like, a long time, probably all the way throughout that first year. Um, I think the songs that I liked at the time, I thought were I still like them, but I think as I got older, I listened to tape again, and especially for in this review, I got kind of a better perspective on all the songs, but I like more songs more or I like my favorite songs have changed over the years, is basically what I'm saying. So yeah, I was excited to get back to this tape. I'm glad everybody chose this one because I think this is one of my favorite tapes, I would say, if I was going into the review. So it's good to see if I can actually confirm that. Um, yeah, like we did ask questions. We did ask the question. Maybe we weren't as specific as we would like to be. So just some more shouts, really. Shout out to KJ Weaver. He did ask like, is Charles Hamilton a sneakerhead? So Charles, if you want to answer that question, you can at any time. I think he also asked, and it might be for us, but I'm not sure. But what style, brand, materials they have you rocked with over the years, and any dream shoe collabs? I can say now that I don't really shoes have never been a thing for me personally. I don't know about you, Mike, but I just buy the ones I can. Can't go into stores and buy size 18. So I get what I can. I go on Amazon and I get what I can. If I like them, I like them. Usually it's more of like a basketball shoe thing. I get like a couple of those. And I get a couple casual shoes. That's it. What about you?
did you say size 18?
That is correct. Yes.
God damn. Um, I'm definitely not size 18. I'm size 11, so but for me, I've never really been big into shoes. I will say this, like I like shoes, but like I'm definitely not a hype beast or a
Mhm.
collector of any sorts. I just buy what I like. I will say this. I've always been a fan of Reebok shoes, so it's the thing where like I like Reebok just more because like Reebok Classic to be specific. But
Okay.
I just always like those because around my way there was a shoe store that had them, and at the time they were like $40. So like when I was younger, if I really wanted a bunch of shoes, I could just buy a bunch of Reeboks. You know what I mean? Couldn't go wrong. Get almost every color I wanted. You feel me? Um, I wear Nikes too, but like I'm definitely not the yo. I gotta get the new whatever shoes out that's $300, $400 and I'm afraid to wear them. The most expensive shoes I have are actually the pink and black Air Maxes. I think those like 130. That's the
Mm,
most I'm gonna spend on shoes, like 150 or something like that. But then
mm.
you got that whole I can't wear them because I'm afraid I'm getting messed up. Shoes are meant to be worn, so I don't have any collabs and all that type of stuff. But shout out to everyone that does.
Yeah. And then final shout out, I can't remember if you had mentioned our one from YouTube, but Reverend Eleanor just wants to know more about the making of the project. So Charles, if you can give any information in the comments, let us know. But I'm ready to review, man. And we're gonna go through the entire album and kind of go from there. You ready?
Yeah, real quick, I do want to say, for you guys, we're gonna drop we had to do this before, but we're gonna drop a playlist for this because I remember when I first listened to this, I want to say that the page now is Sega Genesis. I swear, I'm pretty sure they were eating crab meats before, but back then, I don't think you really could do playlists back then. I think when this came out, that wasn't an option. There wasn't playlist, but
Right.
everything that was dropped on the Sega Genesis, was all Charles Hamilton stuff. So it's like, oh, I could just listen to this like front to back, just no issue because it's the next video. Um, Now with a lot of, I've seen like two other playlists for this tape, Growing Pains.
Mhm.
The issue is one song was left off on one or two of them, or a couple songs were left off, and then they're not in order. So the link that you guys will see us drop on this episode or wherever, it will be the playlist that is shown on the back of the art cover. So whatever the back of the art cover for Growing Pain says, that's the exact songs on there, and in that order. So it should be 12 songs in a certain particular order. So if you guys are ever wondering, oh, why listen to it this way, that way, we're just going to listen to it the way we feel it was intended to be listened to.
Yeah. So I was telling you when I was listening to it, I noticed I had a feeling that something was missing, and I just felt like the order was weird the way it was set up. So I'm glad we did take the time to kind of look for that and kind of make sure that we had everything in order. But yeah, we'll have to play this out today for when you're listening to this. The first song is aptly titled "Some First Single Type Shit."
So for this song, and you are right, because I remember when I was going back through like the playlist before that I looked at, I'm like, some of these songs, was this the ending? Was this the beginning? I guess it's that long ago I listened to it, but hearing this song, and I'm like, okay, this definitely sounds like an intro.
Mm.
So good intro, great hook. I feel like it's amazing outro. How he plays it out. It's one of those things where, of course, talking about like a first single, and technically Charles's first single, most people would refer to as like Brooklyn Girls or something like that, or
Mhm.
Loser if you didn't hear Brooklyn Girls. But it is always interesting because when I look at projects, I always think, okay, from whatever project this is, what would be the single? What will be the song people want to push? For me, I don't know if this song would be something that I would push as the single. I like it. Definitely a great intro. It might be like a second or third, like in an ironic way, where it's like, yeah, this was going to be originally the single we were going with, but we had something that came out that sounded better or whatever. But
Mhm.
overall, great, strong intro. I like it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was gonna mention to you that I feel like it operates better as an intro than it would actually as a first single. This seems like a when I think single, I think of something that's gonna be a catchy hook that's gonna be repeated over and over and over again. And I don't know if this song is that on this tape, right? Um, and I guess my next question is when he says first single, this makes it seem like this was intended to be an album. So I'm wondering if that's the more than a project tagline that means that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's another it's definitely music around the same time when he was recording probably This Perfect Life, somewhere around that time period, right? And maybe this was one of the first songs that he made, like this is a single that we're gonna push or whatever. Um as a song overall, I think the song's cool. I think that that 2 minute outro is cool. I think it's a little bit too long. Maybe if we could shorten that to maybe like a minute, that'd be better. Um, but he's rapping. He does a pretty good job. Yeah, it just I don't know how effective it would have been as a single.
If this was going to be a single, definitely for the outro would have to been like cut shorter. You know what I mean? How there's like the radio version, and then there's like the video version of a song, and then there's like the album cut. It's one of those things where like they definitely wouldn't have been able to do that. It would have been something like they would have did like the first two verses. And you know how sometimes with music videos they'll do like a snippet of like the next single or something like that for
Right.
like the hook and whatever. So something interesting like that. But um yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, wouldn't really say this would be the single, but I feel like, and we've talked about this before, a lot of times in Charles' career, when it comes to these albums or any type of song, they're like, oh, we need a hit, we need a whatever, and Charles is like, I can give y'all hits, but at the same time, like, it's that weird clash thing I think that we've noticed where like, okay, this is a hit right here, but then labels they never know how to explain a hit because they don't know it themselves. They just like
Right.
it doesn't sound like a hit. It's like, well, what do you want? It's like give us a hit. It's like explain. But overall, still a good song, still a really good song.
Yeah. Like I said, a great way to introduce him because especially with the hook, it's kind of making it's more of an introduction to him versus the introductory to an album, I guess. Um, he follows that up with more seafood. It's just the interesting thing about this is that we have not yet reviewed the original seafood because we have not yet review Intervention, which we will eventually. Let's fast forward to where we are now. More seafood. It samples, technically it samples the B-52s, Rock Lobster, but we all know it basically from that Family Guy episode where Peter is singing Rock Lobster himself. What do you think about this one?
Give me a second. I'll be right back in 2 seconds.
Oh,
You're not
God.
following nothing like that. All right, we good. All right. So, number one, not to spoil my feelings about the original, but I guess I got to a little bit. Number one, it's not a bad song. The original Rock Lobster is not a bad song. And I'm talking about like Charles's version of Seafood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't really like it. And I don't like that episode of Family Guy where they do the little skit thing. That's annoying to me. Personal gripe. So I will say this. The sample's not bad. The flip isn't bad at all. The verses aren't bad. I just think the Rock Lobster, like I just fucking hate it.
Yeah.
It's nothing with Charles. Like I said, I'm not, but I will say this, it's very catchy and it's very, interesting song and what he did with it. But like for me, I'm like, when I heard this, I'm like more seafood. I'm like, I really didn't enjoy the first one, but
Yeah.
that's just me, man. Just nah, it's okay. It's okay. But how do you feel about it?
And we'll always sit on top of the world. Watch your family guy. Here we go. I'm a walking commercial for what in the hell? Dude, he mad talented.
I think More Seafood is clearly designed to, again, this is more evidence to me that this is supposed to be an album because it is seafood, but it's like a more upbeat version with more developed or catchy lyrics. And the hook is the same, but it's more upbeat, right? So I feel like that was the purpose of this version. It's almost similar to when, again, Taffy 2 loses revenge. It's like Losers Revenge is more of a smoother, jazzier type of version of the hard rock original. So it just seems like something that the label might have asked for, like, hey, we like this, but can you do something different to maybe spruce it up? I personally think it's a cool song. I like it. It's one of those ones I did like originally. Like I said, it's a great sequel. I love the third verse where he goes, I'm a walking commercial for what in the hell. That's just I like that visual that bar kind of encapsulates. And then it's just funny because I think the ending where it's kind of like a premonition that he kind of has where it says you either legalize marijuana or illegalize cigarettes, and we're in the spot now where in places marijuana is legal in some places, but also they've raised the age limit of smoking to 21. So it's crazy how you kind of had to foresight like what was about to happen. But yeah, I think the song's good, man. I think it's one of those ones where like it's a deep cut, and it's gonna depend on if you like that rock lobster sound effect.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's more just because of the Family Guy episode where I'm just like, but if I was just taking my feelings out of it, it's an okay song. You know what I mean? The verses, like I said, he's definitely snapping on the verses. And like you said, the ending was interesting because he was like, I'm very, I'm taking myself out of the whole marijuana and cigarettes debate. And it is pretty interesting that overall, like I said, just it's legalized in some areas. Some areas it might just be decriminalized, and then smoking is raised to 21. And that's just like I said, I don't partake in any of that. So you know what I mean? I never had to worry about that, but it's just like it is pretty interesting how the world changes because I remember when I was younger being like, they shouldn't legalize it, but it was for my own dumb reasons. Now I'm like, you know what? Who cares? As long as people aren't going to jail for it, cool beans.
Um, Two straws, one cup. Before we get
Wild.
before we get into the song, I feel like we would not do our generation. We'd be doing them a disservice if we didn't bring up the pun in this song title. So I have to ask. I feel like you just have to ask everybody in this generation the same question. Did you ever either accidentally or get tricked into watching the infamous Two Girls, One Cup video?
Yes, I was tricked into watching it. It was one of those things where I was actually in college at the time too. Because one thing where I remember when it came out sooner than that. And
Yep.
people were like, oh, you ever heard of it? And I'm like, Two Girls, One Cup. Well, what are they doing with the cup? And then like before I knew about the context, someone told
Uh-huh.
me about it. Someone told me about it. I'm like, okay, I'm not watching that. I'm just not watching it. And then someone's like, oh, come watch this. I'm like, what is it? They're like, oh, just come watch it, come watch it. I'm like, just tell me what it is. I'll watch it. They're like, no, just watch it. It's gonna be cool. I'm like, all right. And I seen these two girls, whatever, and all of a sudden, then I'm like, all right. So it's already too late. So I'm like, okay. I apparently what people said like years later that it was actually fake. They actually didn't. And my thing is this: regardless if it's real or fake, it like okay, whatever. It's gross. It's fucking gross. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like the shock and horror is really the whole thing about it. Um, it's one of those things you can't unsee. Like just the mention of that title instantly puts it back into your head, unfortunately. And it's just a rite of passage, unfortunately. It is just a rite of passage. Um, Let us move on from that. How did you feel about Two Straws, One Cup, though?
It's a wild name. Song was great though, and it has nothing to do with what we were just talking about at all. So the sample Robin Thicke on there, that Lost Without You, which is a pretty classic song. Robin Thicke's got a lot of classic songs, you know what I mean? So um literally the song, smooth, everything I feel like on that song is A1. Like the hooks, catchy, it's enjoyable, the verses are great. Like I said, how he sampled it, just like there's really nothing bad I can say about this song. I forgot this is on here, and I'm like, oh snap! Like I remember hearing the song. I'm like, kind of brought back some memories. I'm like, man, this is definitely like one of my favorites. On here. I'm like, this is definitely one of the songs. If like I told someone like, yeah, this is definitely one you need to check out from this tape. Really good song. Really good song.
Yeah, an amazing flip. Again, like you said, that Lost Without You was a classic. Growing up, I think it was one of the songs you couldn't escape. So this kind of breathed new life into it. Just from my perspective. Yeah, great rapping, great hook. He's really doing his thing. Again, it's one of those smooth Charles tracks that you can kind of play almost anywhere, anytime. Um, yeah, he bodies this. He does a good job with this, and yeah, yeah, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just it's a really good song. It's one of my favorite songs on the tape. Home Alone. Now this one I remember listening to it and I was like, back when I first listened to it, and then I listened to it for the review this week, and I'm still kind of there, but I do see its charm. I see the charm in it. I see I like the sample. Um, he says a dope little. The hook is creative. I like the ding dong ding dong. I like that. I love that. And then he has some bars in there where my earned run average is zip, my ERA, my air. Like he does some good stuff with the bars and stuff. I just think it's one of those ones where I wouldn't listen to it consistently. It would have to be one of those things where it's like a huge playlist. I hit shuffle and I'm like, oh shit, this came on. But not one that's gonna be heavy in my rotation, I think.
Right. I feel you on that. So with this song, when I first heard it, I remember being really pulled in by like the sample flip, the beat and whatnot. Just I really like that. Hook, I always like the hook. Interesting. Just how he was talking about waiting at the doorbell. So hearing it now, still like it, but I feel like I really like the verses and the flow on here more. Not that I didn't like it before, but like when I heard it before, it was like, oh, I really like the beat more than anything else. Now it's like I really like the flow and lyrics more. Like I'm kind of bridging the gap together where I'm like, which one do I like more? And it's like it goes back and forth for me. But overall, like I said, dope flip, really good beat. I love the flow on there, the vocals, all that. Um, Pretty good song. But I can see like this would be the song where I would expect other people probably wouldn't like as much. This might be like if I was to ask people, I feel like they would say this would be like their least favorite song or one of their least favorite songs on here. But I like it. I can see like why it could be divisive, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Not bad. There are inherently bad or not enjoyable songs. It's not in that category. It's just one of the ones where it's like, It's cool, just not to my taste level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Twittering about masturbation. Wild name, probably the wildest name on here, even wilder than Two Straws One Cup. Personally, I can say it's my least favorite song on the tape.
Wait, least favorite?
That is correct. Yeah.
Wow.
My least favorite song on the tape. It's crazy because the chops on here are crazy, especially in that first verse. He's going nuts with the chops. The beat is fantastic. I don't think it's one of the ones again where I'm not going to listen to it, but it's also one where it's like I just never get the vibe. Like I listened to it a few times to try to catch it, and I'm just like, I don't know. It's not for me. But again, the beat and the chops in there are crazy. The beat switch he does in on verse 2 is fire, and what he does with that is amazing. It's just the song itself, I'm just not into.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that, because you said beat's fire, there's no denying that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you would enjoy the song more if it wasn't about masturbation? Not trying to be funny, like in a serious thing. You know what I mean? Because he's obviously talking about that throughout the verses.
Right,
and all.
yeah.
You think maybe if it's like, maybe you're talking about just like rapping about something else or didn't mention masturbation, you'd be like, yo, I probably would like this more. You know what I mean?
I'm going to say no, because it's not like he hasn't talked about stuff like that, but we've heard Charles hit some wild things before, right? And it hasn't distracted me from like actually liking the song. So I don't think it's the subject matter. I just think it's the overall composition of the song. You know what I'm saying? I think that's from me.
So I want to say when I first heard this tape, I think back then it was my favorite song. This is the song that I pinpoint to when I talk about this tape.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's crazy because he's talking about what he's talking about, but it's interesting because I remember listening to the end of the beat because sometimes Charles will just like have the chops playing and let the beat come back in,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you're able to like just kind of listen to it, and you might be able to figure it out, if you have the ear for it. So I was listening to it, I'm like, why does it sound so familiar? Why does it sound so? I'm like, wait a minute, is this Britney Spears Circus? And I went back and I'm like, I think I was somewhere where they played the original song. I'm like, yo, this nigga snaps. Oh, and it's funny because me and Charles talked about this like a while back or whatever with that song. Cause I was just like, yo, what were you even thinking about? When you made that? Because he said he was just going crazy. You know what I mean? And I'm like, bro, it's funny because the excitement he has when like people get it. You know what I mean? When it's like, yo, like, this is what I did with it. This is how I chopped it up. So, and it's definitely, like I said, one of my favorite beats by Charles. Song wise, it's interesting because the first verse, he's talking about, jacking off and all that. Who's going to be the thought that pisses me off tonight or gets me off tonight?
Yeah.
And then the second verse, he's like, yeah, this is what guys do, but when I'm a father, how am I going to feel when some dude's going to be, doing the same thing to my daughter? Because you can't stop it, or fantasizing about it. And it's just like, yo, it's crazy how we're in that type of situation. But, people are going to be people, and you can't, y'all let them do them. But at the same time, it's like, put some respect on it. You know what I mean? Definitely don't come up to my house trying to meet my daughter and do some wild shit. You feel me? So it was an interesting take on that, because any other time someone could talk about masturbation, it could just be like, oh, this is just gross. I don't want to hear about, someone masturbating. You know what I mean? So you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear about it. So that's why I asked you earlier about it. I'm like, I could see that being just a, not quote unquote turn off, but you just don't want to hear it. You feel me?
Yeah. I think it's a double standard thing too, because like if it's a woman, like we don't care. Actually, it's like, ooh, yeah, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, so that's why I feel like for me, it's not like the subject matter or whatever. It's just like I said, the composition of the song. But yeah, that again, what he hears with samples and how he uses them is always just so unique. Because like you'll listen to a sample, especially when he's doing like his lives, and you'll listen to the sample and you're like, where is he about to chop this up at? And then he does it, and you're like, oh, why are you picking there? Like, you know what I'm saying? I ask that every time. So whatever he heard that day was amazing. Like I said, I love the chops on this.
Who's gonna be the thought that gets me off tonight? Baby, come and get me off tonight. Close your eyes and lift me off tonight. 5, 4, 3, 2 to the 1. I ain't trying to stop until my eyes try to run. From not blinking and trying to ice grill the sun. It's just me and myself in this bitch. It's just me and myself in this bitch.
Selective deafness. What do you got for that?
So for this song, this is I think the first time we really get like a rock sample, how like a classic CH song, and it has that. I consider it great energy, because it's one of those things where like when Charles usually has like a rock sample, like not saying he has to be like super aggressive. Sometimes he is, and it's just you have to have that same cadence as the song, especially when it's like some type of rock sample. So it has some of that anger in it, I guess you could say, has a great energy to it. Overall, the beat goes hard. I don't hate the song. It's just okay. I see what it is. It's one of those things where we had some smooth songs, some interesting takes on certain songs so far. Then you get a rock song. So I feel like this is more like a palate cleanser, if anything, like just something a little different to put on the tape. You feel me? So overall, okay song. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you're right because it's like smack dab in the middle of the tape. So it's kind of like maybe you've been, jazzed up and kind of relaxed. Let's wake it up with this hard rock sample and this beat or whatever. I'm with you. It's okay. I think, like you said, when he has songs like this, he has to kind of lean into the energy of the actual beat. So he can't be as laid back as some other songs that he does. So he has to kind of match it. And I think what happens with that, it can kind of clash with what you're listening to. So like the hook, I love the hook. The hook is great. But I think it's just that we play with that issue where like, is the beat more powerful than the vocals? And I think that plays a part in this a little bit. The main takeaway I had away from this was I really feel like Charles should have had a band. Like I've said it before, I feel like if he had like a traveling band, right? And was just like, oh, this is my band, like, similar to just Incubus. He'd be the lead vocalist or rapper or whatever it is. He can still play the guitar at the same time. Like, I feel like that would have been great for him. It would have been, even if it was like, let's just say like the when the Interscope thing messed up or whatever. I feel like if he had pivoted to that, that would have been great too. Because he was already, he's always been into the gothic, the emo for portion of his fan base. And I just think that would have been a great pivot for him.
I think about that type of stuff too, where I'm like, it would have been interesting to see him in a band, whatever the band would have been called. Like I personally don't know if he would have named it like Charles Hamilton in the Sunshine Band or some shit like that.
Yeah.
If they would have had like a unique name. But another thing, Charles likes to just, do his own thing. He likes to create how he wants to create. It's not that he doesn't like to create with other people, but he likes to create the way he likes to. Not that he doesn't want to, compromise. It's not that he doesn't want to compromise, but he has a certain vision and he wants to see it through. And of course, there could be some people like, oh, I like that. Well, if we tweak it, and he could be like, well, I think it's just fine like this, And when you have more people around asking you or telling you what to do, doesn't really. So I artistically, it'd be interesting to see, but I think like realistically, might not have worked out that well. And also bands break up all the time, you know what I mean? Especially over women. That's one thing. Man, I could see that being the reason. Some girls sleep with Charles, slept with the guitarist or something like that, or the drummer, and then it's over. It's Sonny Bono, Yoko Ono, all that shit, so interesting.
Advice from a sunbeam.
Things that mattered before don't matter no more. So I don't know if I'm sad, mad, or just bored. Going around, people not knowing the sound, but abusing it cause it's low to the ground. Maybe raise the mids, maybe get high. Either way, I'm not gonna sit by and let this pass. So take out whatever you got on media, take out, and don't go the safe route.
Another song I forgot that was on here, and we go right. Yeah, because the thing is, like I said, I heard this tape like a few times then, in 2010, but like I never really like came back to it much. I always, if I did, I wasn't listen to Twittering about masturbation, and then like I probably wouldn't go back to any other songs just because I really wanted to hear that beat. But with this song, another smooth song. So we went from like that smooth song to the rock song to another smooth song again. And I'm like, damn, there's a lot of smooth, laid back songs on here.
Mhm.
And I'm not mad about it. I love the feel of the song. You know, he has some nice singing on the hook. Verses are really good. It's just that chill, calm feeling that the songs give you. So I'm like, nice. So really, really like this song as well.
Yeah, when I heard this as for our review this week, I was like, this coming right after our checks mix. Be sure to go look at that and listen to that now. I was like, I wouldn't have been mad if this snuck on there. This is one of those ones that's kind of perfect for like a kickback or like a cookout. And I can see some aunties really cutting up to this song. Um, really good, true feel good music by Charles. Like you said, the singing on here is perfect. Um, the verses are great. Another verse that I liked on here. I think it's the beginning of the third verse again, which he's killing the third verse on here throughout this album. Things that matter before don't matter no more. So I don't know if I'm mad, sad, or just a whore. Like he's doing a lot on here. He's doing a great job. Yeah, it's really, like I said, really good, feel good music. And I think when Charles get into that bag, I think he's kind of underrated in a sense, just because a lot of this stuff is emotional based. So when he can just kind of give you that kickback, laid back music, it's timeless, honestly.
Yeah, because he has a bunch of songs on certain projects that are like very similar to this. Like, you know, they have that certain sound where it's very calm, relaxing. Um, like he's rapping in the song, but I feel like he's using like a speaking voice kind of too. Because, you know, I've talked about it before, people saying, oh, I don't like how he raps. His voice sounds like this and that and annoying. And I'm like, on songs like this, perfect tone for it, where it's not like high pitched or like sounds like he's whining on it or he's not yelling because the songs don't call for it, but it's just like the regular calm, chill Charles. And I'm like, this is like the tone I think that most people would enjoy if they said that they didn't enjoy his songs because of his voice or something like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, for sure. Now follow this up with probably one of my top two songs on here, even though there's a lot of really good songs on here. Someone to Talk to. Again, more mellow type of song, more chill, maybe not laid back, but more just like a more meditative type of song. And I wrote down something about this is like calming, even though it's kinda sort of like a cry for help. Like it's a message, man. Like we can have, like Charles said in the beginning, we can have all the answers to the world at our disposal. At the end of the day, we all just need someone to talk to. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like there's a message in that because, like, I feel like, at least for men, and it could be for a lot of people, but we'll bottle stuff up. We'll try to, put a lot of stuff on our backs to burden ourselves rather than burden other people. When at the end of the day, I just need someone to talk to. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's the message I always get from there, especially if I'm like, I feel like I'm over, if I'm on myself too much, right? And I'm just like, sometimes, Brandon, just go talk to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Chat with somebody. You've done it for me a couple times before. So just like that kind of situation where it's like, talk to somebody, give them, let whatever it is off your chest, and then, you should feel better. But as a song itself, it's just a great song. Amazing song. Great verses. Yeah, Charles does it again, man.
yeah, I consider this a very relatable song just because of the song title, someone to talk to. We all have those moments where, we would love to have someone to talk to, even if it's just an event and they don't have to say anything, just someone to listen and all that. Overall, I feel like the song's cool. It's nothing too crazy. It's not on my, I don't really like it, or my, oh, I really love it. I'm like, it's good. It's good. And I love the reiteration of it because, like I said, he mentions it so many times, like, just need someone to talk to, because you kind of know the answer. You probably already know what you're looking for, but at the same time, you still need to verbalize it and vocalize it to someone because it's just something you got to get off your chest. So overall, like I said, good song. It's a good song, and like I said, very relatable. If you guys need people to talk to, please don't let it boil over. Make sure that you actually have someone that you can talk to. So that's very important to everyone, please.
Yeah. This is the song that I knew for a fact was on here, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't on the playlist. But it's one of those things where like sometimes it just slips through the cracks. Plus, you'll probably tell us why maybe it slipped through the crack. Tax evasion.
Okay, so I've heard the song before. I know I've heard it before, like I said, because it's on the actual like not on the playlist that we were talking about before. People didn't have it on their playlist, but it's on the Sega Genesis channel that I talked about. So the one thing that's weird, so this song came out in April of 2010. This project came out in August of 2010. And if you guys see, all the songs from this project have the same, picture, growing pains, Charles Hamilton, whatever. Tax evasion is this picture of him. It looked like Charles is in the subway. He's like looking a little shifty and whatnot. I remember that picture, but that's the picture that's for tax evasion. And when I looked the song up, it's actually part of the project, the bonus and unreleased 4. And it's funny because last week I talked to Charles, not about this project, but I was just like, what is the bonus and unreleased? Cause I know there's 4 of them. I'm like, are those actual like projects like you created, or was it fan created? So it was like he kind of was like, they're official, but not like official. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they're definitely basically they're songs that he made but didn't fit on the project at the time. So that's what kind of makes sense. So tax evasion is on there. So it came out on there earlier, or you call it a Lucy. And then I guess at some point Charles was like, you know what? This probably fits better on this project here on Growing Pains. So let me put it on there. So and if I'm wrong, Charles, please correct me on that. But I will say this. It is on the bonus and unreleased 4. And there's a couple other songs that's on there too, where it's like, that's on this tape and that's on this tape. So it's a lot of, it can be confusing about that.
Do you remember listening to those? Because I remember listening to those, and I can't remember how it was on the tapes, but I remember Baby from This Perfect Life, he had separated them in like verses. So like you would get Baby like the first verse and like maybe on volume 1, and then later on like it'll be there again. So yeah, I remember seeing those. I never could figure out if somebody like made them and made those unreleased tapes, or if it was like you said, an official Charles.
Yeah, it was definitely one. The first one I ever heard was part 4, and then like I didn't check out some of the other ones till like later on. But when it comes to this song, Tax Evasion, overall, it's a cool song, nice sample. Part of me, and it might just me being biased, like when I listen to it, because I think the other times I actually listened back to this, it was the version that didn't have this on here. So when I hear it now I'm like, I don't know if it does fit on here. Maybe it's supposed to just be on the bonus and unreleased 4. You know what I mean? Not a bad song though. But when I just have it in the playlist, I'm like, it does sound fine. Like if you're not paying attention, I'm not like, this isn't supposed to be here. What is this? It doesn't feel like Brooklyn Girls added on to the Pink Live Lamp or nothing like that. But part of me is just like, sounds like it might not should be on here, but nothing too crazy. Overall, good song though. It's a good song.
Yeah, I have it as one of those underrated tracks that maybe people forgot about. Even though I know that, I think if I looked at the video that you put in the playlist, I feel like it had a lot of comments on there. So it does seem like it's a popular song.
25,000 views on it. So when it came out, Lucy or whatever, it definitely people have commented on it and liked it. So
yeah, I like the song. I think it's very underrated in my opinion, personally, just because I don't hear about people bringing it up today, right? Because there's a mix of fans or whatever, newer, older, but it seems to slip through the cracks. I like the song. It's one of my higher rated songs I have on here. The English major in me just won't let this go though. So I have to ask, Charles, if you're listening to this, I need you to explain to me how nighttime is the biggest onomatopoeia you can say. I need to know the answer to that. Thank you.
I'm not sure if you've seen the comment that someone left, because someone did actually ask that on the video. Like, what does that mean? And then someone said nighttime as in like knight in shining armor. But I'm not saying that's Charles' answer. I'm just saying that's what that person said. Like that's what their thought was. But
shout out to them. I shout to them. onomatopoeia, that's not what it means. Like that's not what it means. It's like a
Real quick, isn't onomatopoeia? Isn't that like what was it like with the old school Batman where they're like pow and all that type of shit, whatever?
correct. It's more of like it's a word that phonetically either imitates or looks like it sounds like the word. Cuckoo is an example of onomatopoeia. Meow is an example of onomatopoeia. So I need to know how nighttime is like that. That's just an English major thing in me. I can't help that.
And one more thing, actually two more things I want to add on to that. Slam, wham. I'm sorry, just now I'm
Yeah, no, those are classic examples of onomatopoeia. That's a fact. That's my nerd TED talk.
Nice.
Mistress. I will say that this is a very important song to me. This was one of my favorite. This might have been the first time I listened to this, my favorite song on here at the time. Now, no, it's not because I had mistresses. That's wild.
I didn't say
The
that.
way that came off is crazy.
I didn't say that.
But your face, the smirk on your face was crazy. It does make it sound like that, but that's not the reason. I love this song so much because like I love the flip on Mistress. And I was like, I wasn't young when I heard this, but I was into writing more and more and more, right? So when I
Yeah.
saw it, I was like, ooh, I wonder if I could do that with a bunch of other things. So if you ever were to find or purchase my first ever poem collection, there's a song in there, or there's a poem in there. I can't remember what it's called. It might be actually called something Mistress. I don't know what it was, but I have a bunch of those. It's just miss this, miss that, and it's a whole poem about that. So very influential. That collection is trash to me personally because that's just how things go. Like you get better and you're like, oh, you go back and like this is ass. And that's just how I feel. But I'm never gonna turn nobody away from getting it. Anyway, the song itself, I love it. It's a very smooth track. Another jazzy type record. 2 verses. That second verse is crazy. And then that bridge. Do you want to be the other woman? Like it's a very sexy way of saying, hey, side chicks are cool.
Just sit right there, I'ma get right there. Let's split this nightmare. It's over, come closer. But you gotta chill when my girl come over. That ass though.
Now if I give you all of me, would you owe me an apology? I hope not. Gotta keep it on the low, so I know. You know. Nobody else knows.
So like you said, nice play on words, you know, because when I first like looked at it, I'm like mistress. At first, I'm like, I thought it was gonna be something different, like, oh, some girl that's around you that probably gives you so much stress where you're like more like and also actually this could be another play on words. The original girl might be mistress that stresses them out, and the mistress is the one that relieves them.
See, double entendre. Don't even ask me how.
Listen. But like I said, another smooth track. It's a lot of smooth tracks on here. Like I said, I'm not mad about it. So I'm just like, man, like, and I kind of wonder, like I said, with this being, was it supposed to be an album or project? Like maybe it was supposed to sound a different way, and maybe they're like, hey, you know, I like the smooth vibe to it, but we might need to add some other stuff to it. Which personally, I would be like, nah, keep it just smooth it all the way out. You feel me? Like just the whole track, you know, whole album. But it's funny because, like I said, is this a love song about a side chick? You know, because he's talking more about, you know, what he's doing with the side chick. And he does say the one in the beginning, I think the first verse, you gotta chill when my girl comes over. You know what I mean? Don't be blowing me up.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, near the end of the song, asking, do you want to be the other woman? Which I think is wild on both sides because it's more likely he's like, yo, I really like what we got going on. But I like what we got going on, like as in I like what we got going on, and I like how it is now. But a lot of times the side chick could be like, yeah, but I want you all to myself.
Right.
And then, you know, him asking you want to be the other woman, because she could be like, yes, dump her and get with me. All right, cool. But guess what? Now
I have
you're
to
the
replace you.
Yeah, now you're the main one, and there might be another one on the wing, you know, on the grow wing. That's the real growing pains for you, baby girl.
Oh, you in your bag right now.
Something slight, you know, light work. No, but seriously, and then imagine if No one would do this. Actually, let me not say no one. Someone would do this. Imagine if you were having an argument with your actual girl and it's like, oh, I'm tired of this. You know what? Do you want to be the other woman? Do you want to be the other woman? What other woman?
Yeah.
I don't worry about that. Do you want to be the other woman? You know what I mean? Because you can get downgraded right now. Imagine you telling your actual girl, listen, I'm about to bump her up. You about to be downgraded to side chick. You know what I mean? And then you got to work your way back up.
You coming off the bench.
Yo, I don't know how well that's going to work out. So, nobody tried that. Nobody tried that at home. But, great song. But yeah, it's crazy because in music, period, I'm not even going to say just Charles. There's so many songs, especially R&B songs, especially in the 90s, about, side chick, side whoever, you know what I mean? And people was cool with it. And we still sing them, you know what I mean? Especially SWV. You know how many songs they got that are great, but it's like they were singing about being the side chick the whole time and being cool with it. And kind of bragging about it too. Like, yeah, I know something you don't. And chick's like, what? Like, nothing. Nothing.
That's what SWV stood for. Side women virtually.
I thought it was something else, you know what I mean? But okay, you might be right. I never looked up the acronym, so you got it. You got it. Either way, really great song. When I first heard this project, with the other playlists, this was first. So this
Yeah.
being a little bit later down the line, I'm like, I'm cool with it being in both spots, but this probably fits more better, probably fits better here, you know what I mean, later on the tape. So
Yeah, I don't think it I don't think it acts well as an intro. I think this placement is a lot better. It just feels more natural, I guess.
I would say if this project was just all smooth R&B hip hop songs, maybe,
Yeah.
but like how it is now, I'm like, nah, it shouldn't be the intro, but definitely, like I say, I'm cool with the placement where it's at, and I'm really cool with the song. Definitely one of my favorites.
Thanks. In-flight music.
So near the end of this, I started looking at the names of the songs. I was like trying to pinpoint something with the title, and I'm like, maybe because Growing Pains, in-flight music. I'm like, okay, maybe something with a plane, something. Maybe this is, but then I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I'm gonna just say it now. Now officially, this is my favorite song from this project. This is my favorite song from this project. Before I liked it, but I'm like, I don't know. The beat's crazy, hook's really catchy, verses are dope, and just what the hell I know, what the hell I know, because what the hell do you know? Like, hey, I'm just telling y'all. I love the part in the beginning where he's like, all right, I'm gonna let y'all get some bars off because you think you know what I'm gonna say, and then all right, so now we got that out the way, and then just keeps going. That could normally break a song sometimes where you leave like an open spot for something, and it's not like fan participation, like actual fan participation, like, oh, we want you to repeat this and say it, while the music's playing. It's like, no, this is literally just an empty spot. So, only thing I can say I dislike about the song, and it's funny because it's my favorite, but the one thing I can dislike about the song, near the end of the song, the hook's like offbeat, kinda. It's not really offbeat. It's like, there's a first and third and second and fourth beat. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's on a different beat than originally. And I'm like, I don't know if that was just like an actual error they did, like when they were like maybe hurrying up and like, oh, drop it right here. It's supposed to be cool right there. They finished the song. It's like, damn, we put it on the wrong thing. Or if it was a creative thing, like, oh, just something different, But either way, really love the song. This is definitely my favorite now.
First off, I don't know if this is the first time this has happened, but I'm gonna just call it. This is the first time this has happened. We agreed that on the favorite song of the album. This is also my favorite song.
Damn. Yeah, I think this is definitely the first song.
This is absolutely my favorite song on the album, and I think I'm like you. I liked it when it first came out, and I was like, oh, this is cool. But then as years went on, I just love this song. This beat is wild. It's like a fun type of eerie. It does feel like a kind of a like in-flight music, like, but like in the weirdest way possible. I'm like you, that ending part, it used to bother me a lot. Like it used to really bother me. but now it just feels like a charming type thing, like a little thing, like, oh, like I know what's coming. It's like, oh, he's about to throw it. It's about to be thrown off right here, but I still like repeat the words or whatever. So it's at this point, it's just been ingrained in my mind. Like this is gonna happen. It's cool. It's whatever. I think this song is very underrated. I don't see a lot of people talking about this song. They should talk about the song way more. It's a very good song. That second verse is all time for me. I'm that fly even when decent. My street clothes be the same shit that I sleep in. Like he's going off this entire thing. Yeah, all one of my all-time favorite songs. It's definitely in like my top songs ever. I can't pinpoint a number. 20 probably easily. Top 20 easy. For sure.
Okay. All right. Like I said, first time for everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because normally, like I said, it's oh, I like this, or I hate that song. Or well, we both have songs we both like, but us saying favorite from a project, yeah, it's definitely first. So that's dope.
The album or project, whatever we want to call it, ends with coming attractions.
So, like I said, previously listening to this and then this not being the ending, now when I hear this as the ending, I don't know if this should be the ending. I don't know. Like if to me, it doesn't sound like it should be the ending of this project. Not that it's like a bad ending, just sounds like either there's supposed to be something else or something got switched and it's like, kind of like funny thing. This happened to me, not me, but around my area a couple years ago with fireworks. The fireworks ending 4th of July is always for this, it's like they did the ending in the middle and fucked up and realized, damn, so now we gotta like, do something else for the ending. So for me, this song's okay. It has a rock sample in there, and it's pretty chill. Out of all the songs, that had the rock samples in there, this is like not. I wouldn't say it's the worst. The one thing that I had to quote it. He said he was not Charles saying he was, but in the young people's mouths like Michael. I had to quote it. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? But
That's a wild bar.
yeah, it's a wild bar. You know what I mean? Overall, I don't know what to really say about this. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's just the name of it, coming attractions, because it's one of those things where I was thinking about the movies and like also this on a plane or something, and I'm like, okay, coming attractions, okay, this is what might be next. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's going to be like letting us know what's going to be on the next couple projects or something like that. But I didn't really get that from that song. I didn't feel like, oh, he might be hinting towards something. So overall, song's okay. I won't say a weird way to end the tape, but it just doesn't sound like it was supposed to end like that. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't. So in a sense that as it fits as an outro, I would say it makes sense because I feel like it's supposed to be like, oh, coming. I think this is supposed to be an album. I think whatever this was supposed to be, whatever collection of songs supposed to be, I think this was supposed to be an album. I think this was supposed to be like coming attractions. Like I have more albums on the way. Like this is only the beginning of the Charles Hampton story. I feel like that's what this was supposed to signify. It doesn't necessarily do a great job of like hinting at what's next or what the next move is, but it's just supposed to be like, hey, if you like this, I got more on the way. I think being positioned right at the in-flight music kind of sets up that in-flight movie type of situation where it's like, now here's the coming attractions before we get to the main star. But as a song itself, as an outro, it kind of ends it on like a less than stellar note, especially at the in-flight music where it's that high, it's our favorite song, that high mark. It kind of just like brings everything down a little, right? It's a cool song. Again, not gonna be my rotation that much. I don't know even if it hits shuffle that I would listen to it, in a big Charles Hampton playlist, but it's not inherently bad. It's nothing bad about the song. It's just there for me.
Yeah, that's all I can really say because I'm just like, oh, okay, all right, so, yeah.
Before we review this, give our ratings for this. Do you feel like this A was supposed to be an album, and B should it have been an album?
I wouldn't have. So I guess it was supposed to be bigger than it was supposed to be. Maybe not an album, but I feel like it's supposed to be something else, not just a project, even though it's more than a project, but how it was, released and dropped. It definitely felt like it was supposed to be something bigger. And I would say no, you know what I mean? Actually, like dropping it probably would have fared well, but at the same time, I'm thinking about what Interscope was doing and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, it probably wouldn't have been well received, but at the same time, what would have been well received at that time by Charles? Like fan wise, we would have been like, oh, this is great music or whatever the case is. But like, just I'm talking about general public people like, okay, who's this Charles Hamilton guy? Growing Pains. Okay, why should I check this out? You feel me? So overall, I definitely think it probably was supposed to be an album or something bigger than that. But overall, I think I'm okay with it not being dropped like that or being actually made into an album and it being, being put the way it is now. I mean, I'm okay with that. But what do you think? How do you feel?
I think I wouldn't have minded this to be an album. Does it feel like a debut album? I would say no. But I also think that I'm starting to think about all the tapes that kind of came around this time period. I feel like a lot of them were done like 2009, like early 2009, maybe all the way to 2010. And I feel like everything that came in that bubble was meant to be part of his debut album. And I think some things just got positioned in different spots and was moved around. I think some of these songs probably was intended to be part of the album and then it just didn't. And then for whatever reason, This Perfect Life, whatever's on This Perfect Life was the final cut. But I think some of these other songs were meant to be on there. Like some first single type shit, I think probably was originally on This Perfect Life. I do believe that. I just think for whatever reason, maybe they were like us and like, I don't know if this is actually a single. And so like, go get another one. So I just think this that time period is an amalgam of a bunch of songs. And I think if we took if it might be a project we do at one point. If we took that time period of songs and that collection, if we got an idea of what was made during that time period, we could probably make what we think is the album that should have came out.
It'd be an interesting take, be interesting.
But we just reviewed Growing Pains, man, a fan choice by the StarCHasers. So now we need to know what we're gonna rate it, man. So what do you got as far as your review, the pros and cons? What character rating are you giving it, Mike?
So with this project, one thing, let me not forget. Remember we were looking this up earlier on the Charles Hamilton app. Charles, please, if you can answer this. I looked this up and we've seen it on there where all the songs are there, but they're not listed in order. That's not really the problem. The names of the songs will be like 4-letter, like QXZP, all the songs are listed like that. Was there any reason why it was done like that? You know what I mean? Instead of them having the original names? Just wondering. Anyway, so with this project, definitely a strong project, I would say, within that 2010, series, all the tapes that came out at that time. There's a lot of good projects that came out at that time. So, a lot of them have interesting contenders, that'd be an interesting idea too. Like if we were to do like certain ratings of projects that came out throughout certain years, being like, okay, which is the best project of that year? But Smooth it's crazy because there's a lot of smooth songs on here. They had some rock samples and whatnot. A good mix of everything overall. Like Charles sounded like he had some certain purpose. So I guess maybe that's the whole studio thing, because maybe he was supposed to take it a certain type of level, But overall, I really like this project. I liked it then. Definitely forgot about certain songs that was on here. So I think I will go back to this more often. I'm going to give it a bass sonic rating. Overall, really good. Some songs, like I said, that I could probably maybe do without, but like there's nothing on here that's inherently like, oh man, I can't stand this. Other than, like I said, Seafood, but that's not really the song itself. It's just the Family Guy reference and all that. Because yeah, but other than that, really good project. Good project, bass sonic.
I liked it then. I liked it then. I think I love the tape now. I think I'm more in love with the tape today um, than I was then. I think back then it was more like, oh, let me grab the songs that I like. So I like songs from the tape. Now, as I'm listening to it, I feel like I have a more appreciation for it. Again, I think the reason I put it so close with Taffy 2, because Taffy 2 was meant to be an album. And to me, this also has that same type of feel. Um, it's one of those things where, again, like, it feels like it should have been like a jazzy type of chill type vibe album, but because he adds those mixtures of, the rock samples, it does feel like he was kind of directed like, hey, let's give it like a little bit of variety. Um, and some of those songs, they're okay. I don't think they necessarily fit per se, but it do give it a little breakup between like, the jazzy more laid back verses. Um, I love a lot of these songs. I enjoy listening to most of these songs like on a daily basis. Again, the only con I have is Twitter about masturbation, and the beat itself is fire. It's just I don't like the composition of the song. So for me personally, I would probably say this is something that everyone needs to listen to. So I'm going Supersonic for this
All right. Yeah. I can't, I can't knock you for it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where a lot of people, like we said, when we had the voting done, there's a lot of people that wanted Black Lava Lamp. They wanted us to record Black Lava Lamp to do a review on that. But so many people on YouTube said Growing Pains. You know what I mean? So it's like I definitely could see a lot of people agreeing with you on that. So that's what's up.
But what do you guys think about Growing Pains? What were your favorite songs? Do you think this should have been an album? Would you have liked this over This Perfect Life? And more importantly, what do you rate it? Be sure to let us know. Be sure to subscribe to YouTube, StarCHaser Central. You can also follow us on our Twitter and Insta. Well, we don't have an Instagram. We have a Twitter.
Nope.
StarCH Central. But you can follow us on our individual pages on Instagram. I'm at Stick Around 54, STIK around 54. Mike, where can they find you, buddy?
On Instagram, the Mike Jackson, Mike Jackson. On Twitter, Mike D Jackson, Mike D Jackson. That's 1D, 2 E's. Holla at me. Make sure you guys are following Charles on Twitter at Charles Hamilton. Also, make sure you're subscribed to him on his YouTube, and also, I guess you could say, follow him on his Instagram at the talented Mr. Hamilton, where on his YouTube, he'll go live, he'll do some freestyles, make beats on there. So, if you want to stay in tune with him, he does it like every Friday. So make sure you're checking that out. And then make sure you guys, if you're not, make sure you're looking at the blog, you know what I mean, where, sporadically he'll blog some stuff, you know what I mean, whether it's lyrics or how he's feeling. But make sure you're checking out the blog as well. Enter the hamilton.blogspot.com. There it is.
An additional one now. Be sure to get some merch, man. He just opened a merch store. It's got some shirts, some stickers, some hoodies. So if you're into getting some Charles, and it helps him, man. It actually going to him and his cousin who helped design the shirt. So go get some Charles Hamilton merch as well. I think fan choice went well, man. I think this was a good exercise. We will do this again sometime in July. We'll probably put it out mid or late July, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. Like I said, like it's an interesting concept because we're literally just taking 4 random projects from different years and whatnot and letting you guys choose. We always want to make sure you guys are engaged with us. We want to thank you for obviously, watching us, but we don't want it being like, hey, you guys just watch us and we record whatever tape we choose. Like, we want you guys to choose too, so if it helps engagement, if it helps, conversation, please, you know what I mean? Whenever we do these, make sure you make your voices heard and, vote, do that in real life too. Vote on what you feel strongly about.
Absolutely. Continue to just let us know what you want us to listen to, what you want us to listen to, what you want us to review. That might end up in our next fan choice poll. So that'll be a perfect opportunity for it to get nominated. Any specials that you would like us to do? The Chex Mix was a good exercise. I think everybody liked it. We had a lot of different. We learned a lot about some songs that we didn't know about based off that playlist. So Any other type of things you want us to do, let us know. I think that's all I got. But Mike, you have any words for the people before we leave?
I'm good, man. Nothing. Just thank you guys once again. Keep checking us out and let us know how you feel about everything. So,
All right, man. And remember, all praise the Rock Lobster. We are now signing out of the StarCHaser Central podcast, where we always encourage you to follow your dream
and reach for the stars.
So